Hello, my name is Jessica. I'm a fully qualified maths teacher and today's topic is the subject of formula. So this is going to involve knowledge of 1 and 2 step equations. For the purpose of the video, I'm going to be using the change side, change sign or cross the bridge method. Obviously, if you use the balancing method, you would just apply how you would do your equations with the balancing method to each of these equations. Okay, so when they ask you to make something the subject of the formula, it means it has to be that letter equals the rest of the equation. Okay, so in this case, y is currently the subject of the formula because x plus 4 equals y, so it's y equals. And they're asking me to make x the subject of the formula, which means essentially I want this equation to be x equals. Okay, so let's highlight the letter that we want. We want it to be, again, two things, positive and by itself. So at the minute it's positive, so it's going to stay on the left-hand side, but it's not by itself. So we're going to circle our plus 4. We're going to move it across. If it was a balancing method, we would subtract 4 from both sides. So the x didn't move anywhere, it stays where it is, equals the y hasn't moved anywhere, so it stays where it is, and plus 4, change side, change sign, becomes minus 4. And that's that one. That's x is the subject of the formula. Let's try this one. We'll highlight our x because, again, we want to make x the subject. Has to be positive by itself. It's already positive. It's not by itself. So we're going to move the t to the other side of the equal sign. So x stays where it is, didn't move. W stays where it is, didn't move. And plus t becomes minus t. Change side, change sign. And now we have x equals the rest of the equation. So we know we have done it correctly. This one again, x the subject of the formula. So x has to be positive and by itself. So we're going to take the plus 7c to the other side of the equal sign. So the x stays where it is, it didn't move, equals 2d, it stays where it is, didn't move, and plus 7c becomes minus 7c. So the subject of the formula is x and it's x equals, okay, and it's just 1x. Brilliant. Let's try another one. So again, we want to make x the subject of the formula. It won't always be x, but it's just x in the ones that I've chosen. So x has to be positive and by itself. At the moment it is positive, but it's not by itself. So we're going to circle the minus c. Notice I'm also circling the operation, so whether it's a minus or a plus, because the sign to the left of a number belongs to that number. And I want to ensure when I change side, I remember to change the sign, okay? So if you don't circle it, you might forget about it. So then what we're going to say is EF stays where it is, it didn't move, and minus c comes across and becomes plus c equals x. So x is now the subject of the formula, okay? Let's try this one. This one is going to involve two-step equations. So we want to make x the subject of the formula. Now, it's really important that we always move this part first. So the letter and the number are joined together, so they're being multiplied, okay? So when they're mushed together, they're multiplied. The minus 3y, or even if it had been plus 3y, we deal with it separately, okay? So this minus 3y moves first, and then we're going to sort the 4, okay? Always, always, always do not move that 4 across, okay? So they're kind of married, leave them where they are, and let's get rid of the friend essentially first. So the bit that's being added or subtracted is going to go first. Same as that had been 4 divided by x or x divided by 4, the 3y would move first. Okay, but hopefully you'll see in other questions. So 4x stays where it is, it didn't move, equals 2y stays where it is, didn't move, and minus 3y becomes plus 3y. Okay, we're not finished yet because we know x has to be two things. It has to be positive, which it is, so that's great, and it has to be by itself, and it's not by itself, okay? This 4 is attached, so we're going to take the 4 to the other side of the equal sign. Now, on this left-hand side, it's 4 times x. So on the right-hand side, it's going to be divided, okay? So we're multiplying by 4 on the left-hand side, so we are going to be dividing by 4 on the right-hand side. So it's going to give me x equals 2y plus 3y all over 4, okay? And x is now the subject of the formula. Okay, let's try this one. So we want to make x the subject of the formula. So that means it has to be x equals. Remember, this moves first, okay? So the n is being multiplied by x. It stays. We're not going to do it first. The first step in this two-step equation, the first thing is the plus t. So that's going to move to the other side of the equal sign. nx stays where it is, didn't move. G stays where it is, didn't move. And instead of plus t, it becomes minus t, okay? X is positive, which is great, but it's not by itself. So now it's time to move the n across. So we have x equals, write what's already there first, g minus t. And then the n is coming across, it's being multiplied by x on the left-hand side, so it's going to be dividing by n on the right-hand side. And that there is x, the subject of the formula. Okay? Let's try this one. So this is a wee bit harder again. So there's our x, and we want it to be the subject of the formula. So what we're going to do is we are going to move the 5 on the bottom first, okay? So we're going to take the 5 across. So you kind of want your equations to all be on the same line, okay? So if they're not, and there's no separate part to this, there's not a 4 plus that over here, because in that case, this would move first, okay? But on this question, the 5 on the bottom that's being divided on the left-hand side is going to move first, okay? So write what's staying, x minus c equals. Now, the 5 is being divided on the left-hand side, so it's going to be multiplied on the right-hand side, and 5 times d is 5d, okay? Then x is still not by itself, so we're going to take our minus c across, leaving us with x equals, write what's already there, 5d, minus c becomes plus c. Okay, so hopefully so far you're following and they're making sense. Let's look at a nice wee one here. So it looks nice, okay, but be careful. This time it's minus x, and we know that we want x to be two things, positive and by itself. So at the minute it's negative, so we're going to move this x across first, okay? This is also a two-step equation. So let's move it across. So y, write it down, it didn't move anywhere, stays where it is. Minus x has moved across to become plus x equals 3. So there's the first step. Now x is still not by itself, but it's positive, which is great. So now what we're going to do is we need to sort this y. So we're going to take it to the other side of the equal sign, change side, change sign. So we're going to say x equals 3, because it didn't move, minus y. Okay, just check. Oh, I've got another one. Okay, let's do this one. So here's our x. This time it's within the bracket. So the first thing we're going to have to do is we need to bring it outside the bracket. And in order to bring it outside the bracket, we have to be familiar with expanding brackets. Okay, so the first thing to expand brackets effectively, we're going to put in our arrows. So brackets in maths mean multiply. So 5 times x is 5x. And 5 times minus 2, a plus and a minus is a minus, and 5 times 2 is 10 equals c. Okay, so now we've expanded, so it's looking not too bad. Now what we need to do is we need to make sure that the x is by itself and positive. It is positive, so it will remain on the left-hand side, but it's not by itself, okay? And we learned in previous questions that the minus 10, or if it had been plus 10, moves first, okay? So we're going to take this part first and leave the little 5x, which is all mushed together and being multiplied. We're going to deal with it after this. So write what's already there, 5x, it didn't move anywhere, equals c, didn't move anywhere, and the minus 10 comes across to become plus 10, okay? We're not there yet because there is now still a 5 beside the x. So what we're going to do is we're going to move the 5 to the other side of the equal sign. If it's being multiplied by x on the left-hand side, it's going to be divided on the right-hand side, okay? Because we're crossing the bridge and we're changing the operation. So we're going to say x equals, now this is the important part, write what's already there, c plus 10, and all divided by 5, okay? The whole thing's divided by 5. So I hope you found that video useful, and I hope you now feel a lot more confident in finding the subject of the formula. Okay, take care, all the best.